Unfortunately, my mother passed away, and now my stepmom is trying to force my dad to get rid of me. You will not believe the lengths that she goes to. Stick around to the end to see my father's decision. My mom passed away 5 years ago, and I think of her every day. My dad went through some really bad depression, and I had to take care of myself, basically. During the Christmas holidays, my dad told me that he's been seeing someone for a while. I noticed that he was happier, and I guess I was happy for him. I did not want him to be lonely forever, but I did feel like Mom was being erased completely. He never wanted to talk about her, and he got rid of all the pictures with her and him. He said that his girlfriend will be spending Christmas with us, and then moving in. I wasn't happy at all. I don't even know her, but I didn't say anything. I met her on Christmas, and usually my dad and I put the star on the tree that day. We would put the star on the tree and watch The Grinch. It's our little tradition, and we kept it even if we were grieving my mom. It's the only tradition from when she was with us that we actually kept. When his girlfriend came over, he put the star on while I was in the bathroom. Also, we did not watch The Grinch because, well, she hates it. I know, I sound like a spoiled and childish kid, but I was angry. We've been doing this my whole life, and she just comes in and destroys it. The whole night, she didn't even bother getting to know me at all. She was all over my dad and pretty much ignored me. I told my dad about how upset I was. It was our tradition, and he said I should grow up, and that things are changing now. I didn't like her because she gave me a bad feeling, so I never got close to her. She complained to my father about it, and he got mad at me for not making her feel welcome. I felt bad because she makes my dad really happy, so I tried to be more friendly with her. In front of my dad, she was nice to me, but when we were alone, she ignored me or spoke to me with attitude. She even told me that I was a brat, and I make my dad's life harder. I told him, but he did not believe me and just yelled at me for trying to sabotage his relationship. He said that I wanted him to die alone and be sad and that I was selfish. I was so shocked because none of it's true. My dad basically treated me like I wasn't there at all. After that, I felt like I did when my mom died, all alone. I stayed up really late one night because I just couldn't go to sleep and wanted to sneak in a midnight snack. The girlfriend was in the kitchen on FaceTime, so I decided to be nosy. I listened. She was talking about my dad and how much she loves him. Then she said that he had this, quote, dumb daughter, and she wondered if it was too late for an adoption. Her and her friends laughed at that. She said that I was a little beep, and she hated me. Her friend then said something about boarding school or military school, but I left so I didn't hear the rest. I was so exhausted from all the crying I did, so I actually slept. I didn't tell my dad, and I don't know if I should, since he probably won't believe me. I really miss my mom. I just kind of want to go live with my grandparents, my mom's parents, but I don't want my dad to think I'm leaving him. What do I do? Can I even do anything? How do I get my dad to listen to me? Would I be wrong for leaving? What's up, guys? Mr. Redito here. I hope you're having an amazing day. I have 2 complete updates for this story, and it gets pretty intense. If you're not subscribed to the channel, just take a second right now and click that button. It's super easy to do, and it helps support the channel so much. Thank you guys, and here is your update. Hi. Since my last post, I spoke to my grandparents and told them everything. I asked if I could stay with them if I wanted to, and they agreed. I then spoke to my dad again and tried to tell him how I felt and what I heard. I did not want to film or record because I knew that he would be mad at that and just would not listen. He did not believe me again and thought that I was jealous of having to share him with someone else. I got upset and told him that I was leaving so he could live happily ever after without the burden of having me around. He looked shocked but did not say anything. I already packed my bags and brought some things to my grandparents' house already. My dad did not speak to me for the rest of the day. My grandfather picked me up and I've been there ever since. I've not gone home and I haven't heard from my dad. My grandparents told me that they would handle my dad and that I should not have to be the one doing it. I'm upset that my dad hasn't called or texted me once to see if I'm okay. At the same time, I'm feeling so much better being with my grandparents. My grandmother is probably the sweetest person ever. And my grandfather is a little rough around the edges, but he's really a softie. Update number 2, 10 days later. My dad came to visit me at my grandparents' place to talk. He brought his girlfriend with him. He said, "Girlfriend and I have been talking, and we decided that it's best that you stay here." My dad said that I can come clean out my room completely, and he'll help. He also said that after I get my things, we should also take a break from each other and reevaluate things in a few months, or however long it takes. His girlfriend then said something about how she'll take care of my dad for me. In a few days, I'll be going over there with my grandparents to get my stuff. Well, also be getting the important papers that some of you have mentioned. It doesn't look like I'll be going home anytime soon. I have a new home now, I guess. To be honest, I've been feeling pretty bad about it in some of the comments. Specifically, the ones saying that since I probably remind him of my mom, that's why he's like that with me. He got rid of everything of my mom's and I was the last piece of her. So, it makes sense. It makes so much sense that he doesn't want me anymore. I really wish she was still here. I think he wants to start over and I wasn't part of that plan. So, I guess that's it. I cannot believe this father's attitude and the way that he treated his own daughter. I want to read one of the comments now. My heart is breaking for OP. I cannot believe the callousness and cruelty of her father that's inflicting on her. I'm so glad she has her grandparents to support her. It might be mean-spirited, but I low-key hope he ends up miserable with the new girlfriend. Guys, I actually hope that too because this father had so many red flags and truly seemed like a piece of crap. Let me know your thoughts and your comments, drop them down below, and we're going to turn our attention to story number 2. Entitled Mother Broke My Laptop Because I Refused to Entertain Her Son With It. You can already see from the title of this situation, it's rather stupid. I'm a man just over 40 and I still have a love for some video games of my youth. Old Nintendo 64 games like Mario Kart and stuff. But the old game systems I used to play them on are long gone, so I have emulators on my laptop for Game Boy and Nintendo 64. Considering how much I've have to travel for work, these old video games give me something fun to do when I'm at motels, airports, or even on flights. People do stop to ask me about it when they see a middle-aged man in a suit gaming away with a Nintendo 64 controller on a laptop. Yeah. Some have judged me for it. I really don't care. At the time of this incident happened, I was waiting in an airport on a 4-hour layover before my next flight. I dropped by the cafe near the terminals and got out my personal laptop. I keep a separate one from my work laptop, which is company provided. I got out my USB Nintendo 64 controller and decided to start a new file on Banjo-Tooie. I wasn't playing the game for more than 10 minutes when a young boy approached me and asked what I was doing. I somewhat awkwardly said that it was an old video game I was using to pass the time. I asked him where his mother was and he pointed out to a dark-haired woman sitting at a table nearby. She was completely zoned out on her phone. I've been the victim of entitled parents and their spoiled children wanting my stuff in the past, especially in airports. And I was getting some serious vibes that this would be more of the same. The airport, for some reason, has a lot of these people. I find it's less of a risk to just tell them no quickly in a polite manner if possible. So I asked the boy to please leave me alone and I just wanted to enjoy my game in peace before my next flight. Well, that was the wrong thing to say as he started crying and ran back to his mom. who proceeded to let out her inner dragon on me. I heard the boy crying to her about how I did not share, and made him really upset. Well, she stomped over to me and demanded to know why I did not let her baby play. I didn't really have much of a chance to say anything because, well, she looked at the game on the screen and then said, "A man my age should not be playing little kid games, even if they are old." Well, that made me angry and I got up. I'm not a small man. I'm 6'1" without shoes on and 250 pounds. And this woman was around 5'3". So I borderline towered over her. She was pretty intimidated for a second and we had an awkward stare down. And while that was happening, her son tried to grab my laptop off the table. I stopped him by putting my arm in the way before he could. But that angered the mother and she yelled at me not to touch her son. Then said I must be a terrible person, and I probably don't know what it's like to have children. I told her, I do know what it's like as I'm a father and have a young son about the same age at home, and he certainly doesn't behave like this. But right then, I was not at home, and I was able to spend a week abroad for work, and playing old video games helped me relax. Then I chastised the lady over her entitled attitude, acting like I should be catering to her son, because I certainly don't ask or demand people to cater to mine. And she should be providing entertainment for her son herself, instead of expecting me or anyone else to do it for her. The lady was really not happy as I said that, and there was a lot of people around us who heard everything, and were giving her judgmental stares. She seemingly started to back off, but took a second to rush past me and sweep my laptop off the table so hard it hit the wall. It was broken in an instant. That's when I fully lost my temper and yelled at her at near full volume, but still managed to keep myself from resorting to foul language since children were present. I also would like to point out that it was strictly verbal and never once did I lay a finger on her. But the lady actually fell over when I yelled at her, either out of fear or on purpose. I'm still not sure. She was crying and cowering in the fetal position on the floor. Her son rushed to her aid, calling me a mean man for making his mama cry, and then started kicking at my shins. Shortly thereafter, airport security showed up and the lady practically threw herself at them and demanded they arrest me. I sat back down with my hands up and said that I didn't do anything wrong, and there's witnesses all around to prove it. And you can just check the cameras that are all over the place that would have captured everything. Well, the lady doubled down and said this all happened because I'm an a-hole who would not let her son play on my computer. Airport security ended up taking us both away while they reviewed witnesses and the CCTV. Police were called, and I was asked if I wanted to press charges. I happily said yes, and soon boarded my flight after they let me go. The next day, after I'd gotten settled into a motel, I took an Uber to try and see if I could get my computer repaired. The PC tech had to charge me extra to start working on my laptop right away. He called me a few hours later and turned out the screen was broken, and the motherboard was damaged, among other broken things I don't remember. But the short of it was, my laptop was totaled, so there's no point in even trying to fix it. The good news is, the hard drive was fine and could be transplanted into a new PC, or just have all the data copied over to a new computer, which I opted for. I paid for a brand new laptop of the same brand that they switched all my data over to, though I still had to reinstall and set up all my apps again, which was annoying. I ended up wanting to sue the lady who broke my camera, but she took a smart move in surrendering and paying me back for the damages. I was completely ready to file a lawsuit, but gave her the option to repay me because I really didn't want to take the time to go to court. She ended up talking to me over a video call, crying her eyes out, saying she was just stressed, and begging me not to sue her. I spoke with her husband and was still very angry with her, and apologizing to me. I get the feeling their marriage was going through a rough patch, but I don't really have any details about it. The husband said he would pay back everything and then some if we just ended this, and I did not sue. I accepted that, and they sent me a check in the mail, which thankfully did not bounce when I cashed it. That all ended last week. I'm happy to say my replacement laptop works great, and I've gotten back to playing video games on my downtime. So, I just have one question for you about that story. What would you have done if you were in OP's position and this exact scenario played out right in front of you as you were waiting on that 4-hour flight delay? Drop your comments down below and let me know your thoughts. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel, take a second to press that button. It's right underneath this video and it helps support me a lot. Don't forget to press the notification bells as well. Alright, now it's time for the third and final story. My parents kicked me out of the house for my sister to live with them. Now, 12 years later, they demand that I give my sister my own home. Sorry if my English isn't good, but this happened when I was 18. Now, with 32. My sister, who's expecting another child, demands that I leave her house, because she's older. Well, let's start. Well, after I turned 18, I still lived with my parents. Until then, everything was fine. Until my sister had an unexpected child with her boyfriend. After that, he left her, took all the goods, and she came to the house from my parents, explaining all the facts to them, and they decided to kick me out, because there was only 2 rooms in the house at the moment. Well, I didn't like the decision, but as my sister was going through a difficult time, I gave up the room. All I asked was for one day to pick up my things. They didn't even give me that. The next day, while I was at work, they threw all my clothes and belongings on the sidewalk, and they changed all the locks on the door. I was shocked. It looked like they did not want me there for a long time, but I accepted it. I went to my girlfriend's house and stayed there for 4 years, living with her. After that, I broke up with her. I moved to another city not so far from my old one. I got a really good job. I bought my dream apartment. By the way, I'm in Brazil, and us Brazilians have this saying, joy of the poor doesn't last long. Well, was when, years later, my parents came to my house, as that they've never happened in the past, and in the face they told me, you could give your apartment to your sister. Well, I said no, and explained the facts, and my mother says, she's expecting another baby, and the house is way too small for that. Then I ask, what will be of me and my job? And she says, well, you can live with us again, and you can drive to work. A little bit of details. It's a 1-hour commute from work to their house. I say no and quickly kick them out of my house. And even today, they're trying by legal means to get the house from me, being absurd enough that they tried to forge my signature for the real estate. They just don't say that an email reached me. Well, this story's far from over. I just wanted to vent. Sorry if you did not understand some of the stuff I typed. I'm Brazilian and English is not my first language.